Piston elevators are great. I mean, if someone asked me to rank my favorite types of redstone contraptions to build, it would be difficult to answer, but I would definitely say that piston elevators would come in the top 3. Just think, they're complicated without being too complicated, they're functional without being boring functional, they're kind of functionally decorative. They're just really fun redstone contraptions to work on, and I've built a bunch of them in the past, so I thought it would be fun to put 10 of my personal favorite designs into one video. Design number 1 is called, is this an elevator for ants? And that is because it's very small. This is a micro elevator, which means it elevates you a micro distance. Say for example, you want to travel up by 3 blocks. There's no point in building a full-size piston elevator for that, but there is something quite cool about still getting an elevator, so micro elevator exists. Now the bonus of using micro elevators is that the redstone behind them is also very micro indeed. I mean, check out this thing. Look, we've got a button that runs into a sticky piston with a redstone block that literally just goes into a bottom piston. That is it. You are just powering a bottom piston. Then this button right here powers the top piston, meaning that we get this extension. It's pretty cool. I love having these inside my base. Design number 2 is called, oh dear, I've forgotten my swimming trunks. This is a design that will be very familiar to anyone who's watched the Hermitcraft series, because myself and pretty much all of the other hermits have at least one of these inside their builds. Now if we just pop inside here and then walk on top of the soul sand, you can see we get shot right the way up to the top, and then the magma will swap back across eventually, which means that we can then use the elevator to actually drop back down. It's a pretty sweet design. Ignore my failure to use that door effectively. And this is another ridiculously simple one. This blue circuit, I say that very loosely because it is just a block with a redstone torch and a piece of redstone dust, is the block swapper. This allows our soul sand and our magma block to switch places. And then this yellow circuit is the pulse extender, which makes sure that our soul sand stays there long enough, because there's nothing more annoying than using a water elevator where you get halfway up and then the magma swaps back across and you fall back down to the bottom. Now I guess the only advice that I can give for this one is remember, the taller the elevator is, the longer your pulse extender is going to have to be. Anyway, design number 3 is called, am I on the right floor? Because this one allows us to pick and choose where we go. So we'll start down at the bottom, and if we hit this button right here, that will shoot us up onto the next level. Now if we want to go up again, we just hit this button and we will be shot upwards once again. If we want to go down a level, we then hit this button and that will take us down there. We can go right the way back down to the bottom again if we want to. We can hit the button up here, we get shot up. You get the picture. Now this seems simple enough, but actually there's quite a lot going on. If we take a look around the back, you can see that the redstone is a tiny bit on the bulky side, but that's because when we hit this button right here, not only does this slime block need to extend, but also the blocks on top of it need to be retracted out the way in time for us to go past, but then they need to re-extend in time for us to land back on top of the blocks. So there's a little bit of timing circuitry going on there. And then also, of course, there's the separate circuit of being able to go down through layers, which is much simpler, but still something to think about. And on top of all of that, I wanted to make the pattern repeatable. So if you wanted to go from ground level all the way up to the sky limit, it would be the same repeating pattern all the way up. But still, if you want to build it for yourselves, it's really easy, and this feels like a good time to mention that all of the world downloads for this video can be found down in the description. Design number 4. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's a slime block flying machine. If we step inside this thing, we will fly up to the top and then stop, allowing us to get off, and then our elevator will drop down to the bottom. And I mean, just look at this, okay? Look around at this thing. There is barely anything to it. You know, people hear the word slime block flying machine and you just see them run across the horizon, getting as far away as possible from them. People get really scared over them, but slime block flying machines are some of the simplest and easy things to build in Minecraft. And the absolute beauty of a design like this is that if you wanted to do this from bedrock all the way up to the sky limit, right the way from the bottom to the top, you would still only need this many redstone resources. Because it's a flying machine, you don't need any extra redstone. This circuitry works for any size of elevator, from 3 blocks all the way to 250 blocks. And I gotta say, just from a purely design perspective, I think these new blast furnaces might be my new favorite immovable objects. They just look so futuristic, and they work quite nicely with the white concrete and cyan theme. Design number 5 is called, really? It's that simple? Yeah. It really is. This is a bit of a weird one. I originally released this back in 2012 or 2013, and then the game mechanic got removed, and then at some point it got reintroduced. If we place in a redstone block, we can then cruise to the top of the piston elevator, then we break the redstone block. That would drop down into the hopper down there so that you can pick it up next time you want to use it. And that is the redstone. It is literally just lines of redstone that are not connected to anything. It's like a self-powering elevator. The redstone block actually keeps the whole thing moving. The only slight, and I mean very slight, added complexity here is this repeater up at the top, and all that does is it stops this piston from getting stuck, because if you didn't have that repeater, that piston would get stuck out there. Definitely one of my favourite piston elevator designs, and it looks especially cool in this colour scheme. I need to build this on the Hermitcraft server. Design number 6 is called, is this an elevator for circus ants? Because this is a micro elevator that involves some pretty epic leaps. If we stand on top of this block right here and hit the button, you can see that we get shot up onto this layer right here, and then everything gets hidden away underneath the floor. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks in total that you travel, and it's pretty satisfying, let's face it. But I tell you what's even more satisfying, it's watching how the redstone works. Look at that. I love redstone engineering. Now to try my best to explain what on earth is actually happening here. So when we hit this button, this block gets moved out the way for the length of the button press. Then we have a shortened pulse that runs through into this circuitry right here, which causes this slime block to be pushed upwards, launching us upwards. But then when the slime block gets retracted, it also retracts all of the blocks around it, so we have these pistons to push those blocks back up in place. Lovely stuff. Design number 7 is called, I hope you haven't eaten recently. Because if this was a roller coaster in real life, we all know I would be... That was me vomiting, by the way. I mean, just look at how much this looks like it shouldn't work, but somehow it does work. You ready? Oh gosh. Oh gosh. It is mildly terrifying. It's arguably more scary watching it without a player inside the minecart. I mean, look at this. Ready? Shoot. It's horrifying. Just as a quick disclaimer, this is the only design featured in this video that wasn't originally created by me. I've done a bunch of slime block elevators in the past, but I've never been able to build one as good as this one. It's originally by Woolly Creeper, and I'll put a link to it down in the description. Because the redstone behind this is so elegant and just so nicely done. I mean, look at this. It's just a snaking redstone line going up like this, perfectly timed to maximize the speed that you travel in the minecart. The only bit that I've added is this little yellow circuit up at the top here, which is the pulse extender, giving us plenty of time to get out of the minecart. Design number 8 is called, I'm not sure this is actually an elevator. Yeah, I'll leave that one up for debate, because this is an incredibly useful design. It uses minecarts once again, but not in some horrible death-defying way. This is a little bit more conventional. We stand on top of the pressure plate, minecart gets dispensed, we sit inside the minecart, and we travel up to the top. When we travel up to the top, the minecart then gets dropped back through into the system, so it's ready for us to use once again. And if we want to go down, we can just drop through the center, we'll land in the water, and we can walk out the front. And if we want to go back up to the top, that's all we have to do. And it looks cool. If you can't tell, I'm a fan. And for old school Hermitcraft watchers, you'll definitely remember these. I think almost all of us had one in our bases at some point, because they're so simple. I mean, look, all we need is a little auto dropper up at the top, and then this little pressure plate circuitry right here, which is nothing too crazy, and that is 100% of the redstone all completed. The rest is just a minecart rail going around a 3x3 glass hollowed out area. Is this real life? Design number 9, the realistic elevator. Here we have a nice clean looking cabin area, and if we just walk inside, you can see that we travel up through this nice little space right here. We get to the top, the doors open, and we can leave our elevator, and then it goes back down to the bottom. Now, one thing worth noting is that's just the way that I've decided to wire this thing. I've wired it so that it goes from the bottom to the top and then back down to the bottom again. You could make it go from the bottom to the top, stay at the top until a player requests that it goes down to the bottom. You can make it go back and forth. You can do whatever you want with this thing, because like all good redstone contraptions, this thing is powered by flying machines. We've got one for the left wall, one for the right wall, and one for the back wall, so 3 flying machines in total, all flying in synchronization to create a nice carriage. And all of the redstone for that is very similar to the slime block flying machine that we saw earlier on in the video. The only extra stuff that I've added in are these little orange circuits which control the doors. That's pretty much it. All very cool, but nowhere near as cool as design number 10. The term respect your elders comes to mind because this is the original Minecraft elevator. Boom. I mean, look at this, 2x1, silent operation can go from bedrock all the way up to build limit with the same repeatable pattern. I mean, people argue all the time about what the best elevator is, but nobody argues over what the best ladder is, okay? Nobody has anything bad to say about ladders. So to round things up, I can only apologize for wasting your time with the first 9 designs of today's video, because this is the only design that you really needed to see. Let's be totally real. Now, I hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you in the next video. See ya!
One.